We'll call the special city council meeting to order September 8th, 2021. It is 6:04 p.m. Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Mayor Ronnie Felder.
Here.
Chairperson Shirley Lanier.
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Ms. Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
Councilperson Mr. Trodrick McCoy.
Here.
Councilperson Dr. Julia Botel.
Here.
Councilperson Douglas Lawson.
Here.
You have a quorum, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Evans?
Present.
Thank you. We will have a moment of silence by the Pledge of Allegiance by Kashamba Miller Anderson, Councilwoman. Do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions for this agenda this evening?
No, ma'am.
Staff, Madam Chair.
Very good. According to the items that are on this agenda, there are 3 items. Are there any disclosures by council in regards to these items?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
I so happen to live in this city where we're going to pass a budget at. That's my disclosure.
Very good, sir. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Say that again, Madam Chair.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second for the adoption of the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Councilperson Douglas Lawson.
Yes.
Dr. Julia Botel.
Yes.
Councilperson Trodrick McCoy.
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Chairperson Lanier.
Yes.
Also, Madam Chair, can we let the record reflect that City Attorney Don Wynn is present and Ms. Tawana Smith, Deputy City Clerk, is here for the City Clerk?
Thank you. It is
Thank you.
recognized. There is no items on our consent agenda. We will go to our first item, which is awards and presentations. Mr. Evans?
Madam Chair and members of the board, this evening staff is recommending approval of Ordinance 4187, which is the ordinance that adopts the adopts the millage rate at 8.4520 mils, which is 3.08% higher than the rollback rate. The budget is balanced with the millage rate of 8.4520 mils. The rate is only higher as a result of the increase in property values that were experienced in Riviera Beach and in Palm Beach County, but it is effectively the same millage rate that the city has had for the last couple of years. The rollback rate is 8.1996, and that is the rollback rate in the event that we went to the rollback rate. It would generate the same revenue that was collected last fiscal year, but actually would require us to amend the budget to reduce some services if we were to go back to the rollback rate. But staff is recommending approval of the millage rate at 8.4520 mils, and staff is prepared to answer any questions the board may have.
Before we look at that, what is number 1? We have awards and presentation, then we have a number 1, because you just read number 2.
Budget.
So are we going to take these out of sequence, or how do you want to do this?
We can jump into, we can do number 1 if it's the board's pleasure. That's fine.
Yeah, I was just going in order, and you didn't say
Yep.
that we wanted to change it around, so.
That's fine.
All right, very good. So number 1, budget presentation, Mr. Sherman.
Okay. That's a different number 1 than I have, but okay, so we're on number 2, ordinance 4188.
Yes.
No, we're on number 1. 1, it says budget presentation, unless I got the wrong thing sitting in front of me here.
No.
It's what it says, but I have a feeling that it should really be this, because that really is the budget presentation. You know, number 2
Right.
is going to be the budget presentation.
We'll do the presentation.
Tell me how you want to do this. Very good.
We'll work off your.
Excellent. We don't have to change anything then. Very good. Go ahead.
All right. Madam Chair and members of the board, pursuant to the conversations we've had with the council related to the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget, one of the items that the board asked us to come back with was the legislative budget, but a couple of things that, before we get there, relate to some housekeeping items. So, see if you can.
All right.
All right, great. So we're going to go over the annual operating budget for fiscal year 2022, personnel changes for 2022, legislative budgets per district, and then the 5-year capital improvements plan. So Mr. Sherman and I will tag team the presentation. So the first goes into the general fund. The general fund is the city's largest fund. It is the fund that is utilized to pay for services related to general government. Your general fund is approximately $85 million, and you can see as it relates to the departments that are in there, you have legislative, which is about $869,000, administration, which incorporates 4 divisions, which is civil drug court, reentry, youth empowerment, communications, city admin, and the reentry program is $22 million. Finance and administrative services, $3 million. City clerks department, $760,000. Human resources, $1.2 million. Legal services, $1 million. Development services, $3.8 million. Procurement, $748,000. Police, $23 million. Fire, $16 million. Public works, $4.5 million. Parks and recreation, $5.1 million. And library services, $1.1 million. And that is the departments that are funded by general revenue or ad valorem taxes. It's important to point out that when you add both public safety, so when you add police and fire, the $23 million and the $16 million, the city of Riviera Beach collects about $48 million in property tax revenue or an ad valorem revenue. So about 78%, close to 80% is absorbed by just your public safety departments. So when we go to advocate for revenue sharing, whether it's from the state or appropriations from the state and other entities, it's important to have the diversification of funds because that helps us be able to fund government. So this looks at all your total budget in totality, and so your total operating budget is $145 million, which includes your general fund of $85 million, your debt service fund of $6.6 million, major disaster fund, which is a fund that's prescribed by charter how much money that we need to allocate for the purposes of a disaster or a major incident of $765,000. And then you go into your enterprise funds. Your enterprise funds are to be operated as a business, so revenue in, expenditures out, and it is supposed to be a break-even or revenue generation business unit for the city. So if you look at the utility special district operating fund is $29 million. Utility district debt service fund, $4.2 million. Marina operating fund, $2.8 million. Solid waste collection fund, $4.3. Stormwater operating fund, $3.2, and parking fund, $400,000. There's 2 funds there that I do want to spend a little bit of time on just briefly, is your stormwater operating fund. Right now, the stormwater operating fund, for all intent and purpose, is utilized for the purposes of paying for personnel costs. Realistically, your stormwater utility should be broken into 3 distinct tranches. You should have money for operating, you should have money for personnel, but a bulk of your money should go for capital. And we do believe that if we were to do an assessment or a review of the assessment that's collected throughout the city, that you're not actually utilizing the fund in the most effective manner. You should have more monies going towards capital infrastructure versus a situation whereby you're paying mostly wages out of that particular fund. So that's a fund that we're going to keep our eyes on and have subsequent discussions with the board to see to put some more monies to address some stormwater infrastructure improvements because what we want to do is find a way to mitigate any stormwater runoff before it gets into our beautiful estuaries or into the ocean. So we need to do more stormwater-related projects to treat the water before it actually makes its way into the Lake Worth Lagoon or the ocean. The parking fund, city staff has been working diligently. One of the most important elements related to that is some of the ordinances that would have to be in place to effectuate a parking division or operation. And so we're having conversations at the internal level to be bringing forward some ordinances for the board to consider related to the parking fund. And this is just an estimate from previous studies that we have done as to what we can anticipate in the collection of revenue for a parking fund. Now that's separate and apart from what we see to be able to be development Marina Phase 2 and what we can anticipate with the demand for parking and the revenue associated with that. Plus, you also have to consider that a portion of that fund, once we are up and operational with whatever type of parking mechanisms we utilize in structured parking for Marina Phase 2, you're going to have some of that fund go towards debt service. So be prepared in the first quarter of fiscal year 2022 that we really have some substantive discussions with the board and put to place some of those ordinances that effectively allow for us to charge for parking.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
I know I mentioned this too on Saturday when I was here, but that parking lot was so full, and I'm sure it was full all Labor Day weekend and every weekend in the season, certainly. Can we not start charging out-of-towners for parking now, even before anything happens with the marina, anything, right away? It's like a gold mine sitting there, I think.
We believe that, and certainly I'd have to defer to the city attorney because her staff is instrumental in leading forward with those ordinances. We would prefer to get those ordinances in place before creating some type of program, but I do believe they're kind of at the final stages with regards to bringing these ordinances forward for the boards to consider.
I mean, it's not, we certainly don't want to charge residents, but I would venture to guess that 90% of the cars that were parked there over the weekend are people coming and going on their boats, and out-of-towners. Thank you.
And then your internal services fund, these are the funds that are used to fund certain operations within the agency, and so each department in the cost allocation is required to put monies aside to pay for those services that are provided by other entities. So you have $3.3 million for your information technology fund, you have $3.2 for general insurance fund, and then your fleet services at $1.8 million for a total of $145 million. So we go into the personnel changes per department. These are the personnel changes that have been discussed with administration and have made it through the budget process and what we're asking for the board to consider in this particular budget. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Sherman, the FTE number related to the increase from last year to this year is what, 2 positions?
Good question.
So we'll get
Find
that
out.
answer. But, so for fire, they're adding 2 EMS captain positions. They've had attrition in that particular department, and the one person that was in that position, they were actually looking to have it. They definitely needed 2 persons, so we're asking for the board to authorize 2 additional EMS captain positions. For the police department, an addition of a communications supervisor. This is required for us to be within standards and what is a requirement if you are running your own dispatch operations. So we're asking for that position. A public information officer that helps to assist the chief as it relates to communications to the public and things that law enforcement is doing within our city. We're asking for that position. An additional crime analyst position, we currently have 1, and so we want to have another position so we can go ahead and be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more strategic in how we approach some of the criminal elements that are in our community. And so this position helps with a lot of the data and information that will be critical to the officers and personnel at the line level position. Police technician position, this is a much needed position in the department. This position helps with all the cameras, all the security devices, all the technology that is utilized in the police department. Right now there's 1 person doing it, so we need to have some backup and some assistance, and so we're asking for that. police technician position, and then the addition of 10 reserve officers for a total of 5 FTEs. So 5 FTE stands for full-time equivalent. So we're going to have additional personnel to be able to assist. And these are some of your more seasoned professionals that may have retired from other agencies and want to maintain their certification as a certified law enforcement officer. And so they're able to stay in a reserve status and assist with some of the things in our community. So this is definitely a benefit added to the agency. Going on to Public Works is the addition of an operations manager position, upgrade of a senior staff assistant position, and then a downgrade of an office manager to an executive assistant. Development Services is unfunding 2 code compliance community inspectors, which are currently vacant, transferring the BTR responsibilities from the Finance Department to the Development Services Department, and transferring the GIS CAD technician position from Information Technology to Development Services. And this is consistent with, I believe, the recommendation that was provided as part of the audit.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
and I guess that this is the department that will finally fill the position of Economic Development Manager / Director.
So, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
That position still resides in administration.
Okay.
We haven't transferred that position yet, but we're going to be looking probably in the first quarter of moving forward with the hiring of that particular position, because we see between Development Services and the CRA, we wanted to see what the ideal arrangement is, bring that back to the board, see if you all are okay with that, and then move forward with the advertising for that position. But we're in a close spot where we can bring that before the board first quarter.
Thank you.
Finance and Administrative Services is add of a customer service representative position, add an executive assistant position, unfund a senior staff assistant position, which is vacant, and then they transferred out 2 business tax receipt specialist positions from the Finance Department to Development Services. City Administration is add a public information officer position and unfund the marketing specialist position and unfund the communications specialist position. With Information Technology, add a network administrator position, add a Tyler security specialist position, and then transfer out the GIS CAD technician position to Development Services. With the Utility Special District, the addition of a backflow technician position, addition of a chief mechanic position, addition of a compliance technician position, addition of 2 laboratory tech positions, reclassification of compliance safety officer to compliance manager, unfund maintenance worker position, unfund senior equipment operator position, unfund senior office assistant position, and unfund 2 water plant operator positions. And then stormwater, unfund the stormwater management manager position. And so we're going to go into the legislative budgets, and we can go through those. And this is a snapshot of the budgets for the legislative department. So we can, oops.
Yep, that's it.
Sorry. So this is, for all intent and purpose, this is all the elected officials' budgets are the same. There's no real deviation. Now, there is deviation in the expenditures associated with departments depending on if a position was vacant or if a position was fully funded for an entire year. I believe Councilperson Miller Anderson had a couple years where her particular budget was under as far as what the expenditures were. So they were actually returning monies to the general fund, and some other budgets do that throughout the city. But this is a snapshot with regards to each of the legislative budget, and if there's any conversations or the board would want to have related to any of these specific line items, we can make changes or modifications or tweaks associated with that.
That's it for
All right.
that item.
That's it for this particular item.
Very good. Madam Clerk, number 2.
Ordinance number 4187, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, fixing the adjusted tax valuation of real property located within the corporate limits of the city, levying a tax on real property and tangible business personal property located within the corporate limits of the city, for the fiscal year beginning on October 1st, 2021, and ending on September 30th, 2022, fixing the millage rate of 8.4520 mills therein for said year, that the millage rate of 8.4520 is 3.08% higher than the rollback rate of 8.1996, providing a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
So move.
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion on the floor already, so we're good. Go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair, members of the board, this is staff's recommendation regarding the approval of ordinance 4187, which adopts the millage rate of 8.4520 mills. This is the millage rate which the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget is predicated on, and staff recommends approval and is here to answer any questions should the board have any.
Are there any questions regarding this item? Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, there's no public comments on this item as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Very good. Proceed with public comment, please.
You want me to go with the roll?
You said there are no public comments?
There are none.
Okay, then the roll then.
Yes. Councilperson Trodrick McCoy,
No.
Councilwoman Dr. Julia Botel,
Yes.
Councilman Douglas A. Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Kashambra Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chairperson Shirley D. Lanier.
Yes. Motion carries 4-1. Mr. McCoy, Councilman McCoy abstaining. Number 3.
I didn't abstain.
Dissenting.
I'm sorry, he dissented.
Ordinance number 4188, an ordinance of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, making appropriations and establishing a budget for the fiscal year beginning on October 1st, 2021, and ending on September 30th, 2022, and providing severability clause and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, there are no public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards are now closed. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion for, can I get a motion for this item?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Second.
Very good. Are there any questions in regards to this item? This is the budget that Mr. Evans has just went over. Sir, could you have a seat, please? Sir? Thank you. You know, when Mr. Evans, when you were presenting this budget, I did have some issue with the 5 reserve officers. I would like to see at least 5 social service workers working in the police department instead of more police officers or reserve officers. I think that the social service officers or social service individuals would serve better for the police department, especially given our population and given some of the issues that we have in the city in regards to homelessness, in regards to poverty, in regards to loitering, vagrancy. A lot of the issues that we have are social service issues. Sir, could you please be quiet in the audience? And I think that social service workers would much, much better fit going out on calls for issues that are involving social services. I just wanted to make that known for my stance on those particular 5 positions. Are there any other questions in regards to this item? Very good. Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Trodrick McCoy,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dr. Julia Botel,
Yes.
Councilman Douglas Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Ms. Kashambra Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chairperson Shirley Lanier.
Yes.
Thank you.
Number 4.
Madam Chair, a question for perhaps.
Before we go, I'm sorry, Mr. McCoy, before we go, that was 5-0, no dissenters or abstentions. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Mr. McCoy, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Sherman and/or Mr. Evans, Mr. Evans spoke of money that rolls back into the general fund that's unspent. Is there a running account of how much we roll over each year, just out of curiosity? Like, do we, we had just set forth 85 million. Do we roll over 17 million from the previous year?
No. Typically, are in the million and a half range, is what we have been doing the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay, so not anything real significant.
No.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Number 4, Madam Clerk.
Ordinance number 4189, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, modifying and updating the city's 5-year capital projects plan for fiscal years 2021, 2022 through 2025, 2026, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Madam Chair, we do have public comment cards on this item. Acceptance of public comment cards are now closed.
Motion to approve ordinance 4189.
Second.
Very good. Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair and members of the board, at this time I'll ask for Mr. Randy Sherman to present the 5-year capital improvements plan.
Good evening, Randy Sherman, Finance Director. So here's the summary sheet for the capital improvement plan. These are the totals for the projects that we went over last Thursday evening. So for city administration, again, what we have here is we have what is in progress, then we have the 22 budget is in the second column, and then we have the next 4 years after that. So I'll just focus really on the 22 column. So for city administration, we have $5 million. Development services is $1.5 million. The fire department, which obviously includes the 2 fire stations, is $22.4 million. Information technology, $750,000. Parks, $618,000. The police department, which includes their radio, $787,000. Public works, $2 million. So the total government projects for fiscal year 2022 is $33 million, and the 5-year total is $78.9 million. For the enterprise funds, we have the marina at 4.9 for fiscal year 2022, and the utility district at $21 million. And then the 5-year number for the marina is $27.8 million, which would include all of phase 4, and then the utility district is $66.5 million. For the total enterprise is $94.3 million of projects. And if there are questions, I can go into the individual projects that we went over last Thursday.
That's it. Any questions for Mr. Sherman in regards to this capital projects budget? Very good. Madam Clerk. I'm sorry. Go ahead with the public comments.
Mr. Fane Lozman. Followed by Ms. Mary Brown.
Fane Lozman. For the record, Madam Chairperson, I handed my card to a city official before they closed public comment at the last item. So when I come here, I expect to make my public comment if I've handed my card to an employee of the city. And remember, the people in this audience, they pay your salaries. The Sunshine Law is supposed to be liberally construed. When people come here, if they're a little bit late sometimes, Ms. Miller-Anderson always extended the courtesy to let them make their public comment. Okay, so I don't work for you. You work for the people who take their time to make their public comment. Depriving them of their public comment is violative of the public meetings laws. Okay, one of the reasons I've come here tonight.
Hold on one second. Okay, go ahead.
But relative to this specific item, 58.55% of the funds are going to salaries. Okay, I received a copy of a slip. I don't know what you call it, W-2 form, whatever it is that you staple on your tax return, where the city manager made over $340,000. Now, Mayor Felder, the county administrator makes $285,000. And that $340,000 did not include retroactive pay to the CRA board. It's going to be over $400,000. Now you're looking at 58.55%. You are fiduciaries of my taxpayers' dollars and everybody in this city. How do you justify paying an employee over 400 grand? So you say, that's more than the President of the United States makes working for this city. I think the argument can be made that there's a RICO violation on the federal side. Ehrenberg isn't going to do anything. He and Botel are buddies. But on the federal side, I think it could be racketeering. Who knows what's going on here? Over $400,000. Did anybody but McCoy have a clue what's going on in the city? I know he has a clue. He understands what's going on. He's trying to be a watchdog for the city. Okay? But when you got over $400,000 going to one man, there's something wrong. You guys are accountable. Look at Botel. It's so funny. It's not funny, Botel. A lot of people are disgusted that you've helped push this gargantuan salary that shouldn't be. So when we look at 58.55, you need a clean house, Mayor. You need to go through a line item budget process as the mayor, and then you should exercise your responsibility over what goes on in the city, where you can veto what happens here tonight. You'd say, we're going to go through it, and I'm going to veto this till you get a handle, because you have that responsibility. You have something that no one else here has. You can also fire anybody. You can suspend them. But over more money than the President of the United States, I've talked to the media, and this story is going to get out there.
Thank you, sir.
Miss Mary Brown.
Good afternoon, good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I was in here on the night, I was one of the residents that came in to hear everything that was being proposed, where we are and where we should be. And in our budget here, we know that we have to meet certain criteria, and we also have collective bargaining agreements that were also included in our increase in our budget, because those employees as well, you know, they also have to, they're here, so we do have to bargain. Now, I would say, I heard Ms. Lanier say about the social services within our police department. Yes, we do need that. Not only those particular areas there. I was in the budget workshop as well, and Botel also made mention about something that was critical, about preparing us in the atmosphere that we're in here now, making sure that our gas stations, our food stores that are in here, that are all well prepared. So I know that I agree with the budget, but most of all, I agree that we were able to maintain that AAA, that AA rating. And I said once before, that was a plus for our city. So it does show we as a city that our elected officials, we are headed in the right direction in trying to achieve and meet the goals that we have at hand. Now, in some of these areas here, I really want you all to think about this. But we got to get through this budget here first, so maybe I don't want to lay that out, not yet, until we get through this budget here. But the budget that was workshopped, I as a resident, and I always say, residents, if you want to know what's going on in your city and where the money is, this is where you come. Your budget process is a whole year of your paid out, I call them paid outs and paid ins. So a lot of times, you as residents, you do not understand where your capitals are, where your revenues are, where your stock bondings and stuff are, how we integrate into our budget in order to meet our financial needs. So I just want to say, you all did well, and thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brown.
That's the end of public comments for item 4.
Very good. We are at the end of our agenda, and because we're at the end of our
You
agenda.
gotta call the question.
Oh, that was a vote. Very good question.
Councilperson Trodrick McCoy.
Yes.
Councilperson Julia Botel.
Yes.
Councilperson Douglas Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Chairperson Lanier.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Forgive me, colleagues, I have had a long day today. I'm glad that this meeting is very short, but we will call for public comment at this time. Madam Clerk?
You want to read the statement?
Oh, yeah, see, I told you, it's been a long day. Please be reminded, the City Council has adopted rules of decorum, public conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, the council chair may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, and or the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Public comment shall begin at 7:30 p.m. unless there is no further business of the City Council, which in the event it shall begin sooner, which is in this case. In addition, if an item is being considered at 7:30 p.m., the comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Any person who would like to speak during public comments, please fill out a public comment card located at the front desk and give it to the staff before the public comment section is announced.
Thank you. The first person would be Mr. Lloyd Brown, followed by Mr. Fane Lozman.
Hello, my name is Lloyd Brown, and I'm outspoken because I think that's probably why my family don't really associate with me, because I was outspoken at my brother's funeral. But only thing I got to say is I had a nephew about 2 weeks ago. He was arrested for battery. Okay, I wish he would have known the chief. And another thing too, I know some football players who were going to college, and they got in trouble for battery on their spouse or whatever. And those people, they kicked them off the team. I can't see what's going on because this seems like it's a syndicate, like certain people got guardian angels. They can do any kind of crime they want to do and get away with it. And I believe you gotta have, you should be the one that somebody look up to, that role model. And I don't think what happened, I don't even have to say anything about it because I don't know what happened. And it's like, I believe those people should resign. I don't give a damn what they think. And I'm gonna say what I have to say. Because you know what, I didn't know anything about this. A police officer came to me, a retired police officer. And I thought, he didn't know what he was talking about. And I said, oh, well, me and him, we always talk, because people always come by my house. Now, if there's not going to be anything and this man not going to resign, both of these people, and whoever involved in this, then you know what, I know how to get a hold of people. I know how to get a hold of people that does things for like restaurants and stores. I know how to get a hold of, because you can Google all the people you need to know. But if y'all don't do anything about these people and what they did, because I'm a felon. I wish I had this man watching over me when I got out there and got in trouble. There wasn't really no bad crime, but the point is, a felon is a felon. If you do wrong, I think you should be the one. You got the shoes on, you should wear them. I don't think nobody should get any free ticket to go anywhere. And if I was an individual knowing that I did that, I would resign because I would feel bad for somebody giving me the breaks. And if you think I'm wrong for what I'm saying, then you need to talk to the people, because everybody I know out there in the street, I'm telling them about this situation. And there's a lot of brothers out there who've been charged with battery. And those brothers had to pay fines. They had to pay ticket costs, and they probably still on record. I don't think you should get no kind of freedom to do what you do. And a person with that mindset shouldn't be on the council anyway, because if that's what's on your mind all the time, you don't have your mind set on the city business. You got your mind set on doing something destructive to an individual you with, and that ain't right. And I mean, the mayor, you should have
Thank
said
you so
something
much, sir.
about it.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Fane Lozman, followed by Ms. Mary Brown, and that would be the end of public comments.
Thank you.
Thane Lozman, thousands of dollars of chains and anchors were stolen from where my floating home was at 5101 North Ocean Drive. That's significant because I had to go replace those items when I moved my container home outside of the city. My container home is no longer in the Riviera Beach city limits. We will see in the coming years if it was wise for the city to force me to remove my floating home. We'll just see what happens. I don't think that's a very smart decision. I think we'll leave it at that. There's been constant vandalism and trespass. They ripped off my sign from my property. You know why they ripped it off? Because I was denied a fence permit. We talked about the fence permit on Pine Point Road. Why did we put a fence permit on Pine Point Road? Because young children play in the water without parental supervision. We don't want to be sued for premises liability for not putting a fence up. Ronnie Felder went with me to inspect Pine Point Road. He didn't have a problem with the fence, and he looked at fences all the way down North Ocean Drive. Why do we have to let children drown before we do something about having a fence on our property? It's a residential lot. Even if it wasn't residential, go into MacArthur Park. There's fences all around the mangroves. You're not going to win the fence deal. You're going to spend tens of thousands of dollars litigating that we can't have a fence, and a state judge is going to look at it and you say, of course you can have a fence, just like you can have an address. We don't have to let people trespass on our property where they can get hurt and expose us to being sued. Mayor Felder, why don't you ask Mayor Felder, did you go inspect the different fences? See what he says. Ask him, Chairperson, when I sit down. What did you find when you inspected the fence? Let's talk about Lady March. There's a case called Batson versus Kentucky, where attorneys kept bouncing, disqualifying black jurors. The problem with Lady March's trial, there wasn't one black juror on the trial. So I hear you're going to appeal that case. That's a great idea, because in a retrial, should get some black members and should get a better result. Okay, so I think that's a great idea for the black members of this board. You're right. It shouldn't have been an all-white jury, and I think an appeal is really good. It's going to prove what really went on, and it came out of trial, I understand, that Botel emailed the city manager and said Lady March should be fired for not revoking the fence permit. So I like the idea of a new trial. I like the idea of racial diversity. And for those black members who voted to appeal that case, that's a good thing, because you shouldn't have an all-white jury when you have a black plaintiff. And cyberbullying. Botel and her buddy Leon Granowitz, they're cyberbullying a disabled woman with a service dog. That's gross and disgusting, and I'm not going to tolerate cyberbullying from Botel or Granowitz.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Ms. Mary Brown, and that will be the end of public comment.
Mr. Mayor Brown, did there be?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna talk on a few things.
Could you pull your mask down just a little bit?
Are you taking my time?
No.
It's hard.
It's just hard to hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Very good.
Okay, I'm gonna talk on a couple of things here tonight. Number one, do not issue any permitting in our city for any mooring. Mr. John Sprague, I know this man very well. He's been around the city here for some years. This was brought up before. So I need this board and city manager to stay on target here in our permitting, because see, they have issued permitting further up north up there. So when it was made mention about in this here chambers here, because you all was not aware of that. So I want this board here to stay alert now, to stay alert, because we cannot have that, not in our city. So that's number one. Supervisor of election, Ms. Link, her workshop was very informative. So to all those that, audience that listened to it, I'm hoping that you all got some very critical information. Third topic here. It is always gray areas in everything that we do, even running government, even with elected officials, even with residents. These gray areas here are the areas that we're supposed to work on. We're supposed to work on. We must be better. We must be better as elected officials. We must be better in every department that we have in this city. We have a city manager. See, if I was the CEO, this is what I do. I put in charge those superior peoples that's supposed to navigate and have to be sure that what they are doing, they know what they are doing. I am the CEO. I'm stopping that buck there because I'm going to hold Mr. Randy Sherman responsible. Because before it gets to me, Mr. Randy Sherman should have already workshopped it and gotten to me. Now, the gray areas may be in there because something was not picked up. And this is what Mr. Randy Sherman does for Ms. Bram here. He's going to get back to Ms. Bram here and let me know, well, either I made a mistake or something was left out here. And it's not to say that who was wrong or who was right. But if we are to do the gray areas and respect each other for who they are in our departments and who work for us, our obligation is to make sure that
thank you so much.
And we listen.
Yes, ma'am.
And we do not fall in those gray areas.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your comment.
And our city manager,
thank
we
you, Ms.
love
Brown.
our city manager.
Thank you so much.
That concludes public comments, Madam Chair.
Mr. Evans, do you have any response to any of the public comments mentioned?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, very good. Our next item is discussion by the city manager. Any comments, Mr. Evans?
No, Madam Chair, no comments.
Any discussions by the city attorney?
No, thank you, Madam Chair.
We will start with the mayor.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just to let the board know, for the past few months, I've been discussing with legal and the city manager about a desire to put forth a motion to create a citizens police oversight board. But I requested that we first do the research and let legal find out what type of model would best fit our city. I'm asking that next month we can put this on the agenda to have a discussion with the board. Also, September 18th, we will be having our monthly senior luncheon at Jay's Ministries. It would be a drive-through, first come, first serve. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll start down with Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. September 13th from 11:30 to 1:30, we're going to have a business corridor, business lunch and learn. It's a reimagined edition. So we're going to have all the businesses on that Broadway corridor. All residents are welcome. But please pre-register by contacting my legislative aide, Javarius Jackson, 561-346-2026. It is a luncheon with limited space, so we want to try to get all the businesses that are going to be affected in that area to actually participate and learn about the reimagined model. It will be also televised on Channel 18 and also on the city website. So thank you, residents. Have a great night.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy.
No, ma'am.
Ms. Patel.
Thank you. Just quickly, again, the registration for the commercial driver's license program that will be held, at least initially, out in the Glades, ends on September 16th. The classes begin in February. So if you are interested in obtaining your commercial driver's license, please contact my legislative aide, Sam Brown, at stbrown@rivierbeach.org. And if you would like a copy of the Singer Island newsletter, which is full of information about all things Singer Island, please let Leah Innocenti know. She's the author of the newsletter, and her email is leein, that's Leeinn, @hotmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kasama?
No, ma'am. No, Madam Chair.
I have a comment that I want to close out this meeting with. There was an incident that happened on Sunday in regards to a sitting council person. There were allegations in regards to domestic violence. I don't know what happened, but I am calling for an independent investigation of this matter. This matter is something that the city has to be transparent with. We have to make sure that if we have an independent investigation, we can correct this course. We are not accusing anyone of anything. All we want to know is what happened and how the city responded to it, and was it the right way that we responded. That is all. It is the elephant in the room tonight. It is the elephant that is in the city this evening. And we, as sitting council members, have to address it. We don't want any misinformation being put out about this council, or about our city manager, or about our police chief. We don't want anything that will impugn the integrity of any of these gentlemen. So we are calling for an independent investigation of this matter so that we can set the record straight and we can ensure that the integrity and the transparency of this city is upfront and that we have nothing to hide. Thank you. That is our meeting. Our meeting is adjourned.